Hey, what's up guys? This is the video for section 6, systems of linear inequalities. So we are talking about a system, but we don't have equations for this video. We are going to have inequalities. So let's go ahead and look at what is a system of linear inequalities. So you guys see one here, and notice that on the top I do have a y, not an equal sign, but I have a greater than 2x minus 5. So that is an inequality. Those symbols right there, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, are called inequalities. The bottom inequality, 3x plus 4y, is less than 12. So this is a system of linear inequalities. How do you solve a system of linear of inequalities? Well, we are going to graph the lines and we are going to check the points that actually make a true statement when we substitute into the system. What do I mean? If you take a point and you substitute the y and the x into the inequality, so here's the x, here's the y, it has to make a true statement for both inequalities. So for example, if you say a point has a y value of 8, well, this number 8 has to be greater than whatever this number is. So 8 is greater than 6, that's true. 8 is greater than 0, that's true. So it can be any number, but it has to be 8. This number here has to be greater than this one. But at the same time, if you substitute the same x and y into this inequality, so let's say this is an 8, and this one here is a 1. I'm just going to say 1 here. Well, this here has to be less than 12. And right away, you guys can see that it will not be true if y is 8, because 4 times 8 is 32. Right there is more than 12. So this y and this x has to be some numbers that will make this less than 12. Now remember, we do have negative numbers, integers. So x and y can be negative. So that's what we want. We want to find the points that will make the system a true statement for both inequalities, not just one. And we are going to graph. Now, just a review for graphing inequalities. When you guys have inequalities, you have two options for your line. You might have a solid line or you might have a dashed line. So every time you guys have inequalities, check what inequality you guys have. And I'll tell you guys in a second what line you must have. Also, you have to shade one of the sides of the line, the top of the line or the bottom, because that shading part will be our solution. It will be where the points x and y will make a true statement for the system. So let's try an example here just to show you guys what am I talking about. And you guys see this system here solved by graphing. Also, just another review for you guys to graph lines. We need the slope and the y-intercept when we graph lines. And then you guys connect the points when you guys have 2 points on the coordinate plane, and you guys will make your line. So let's go ahead and look at the first one. The first inequality up here, we have y is greater than 2x minus 5, and that's the one I give you guys in the previous slide. Well, we are going to graph. We are going to find the solution of what x and y makes a true statement for both inequalities. So I noticed that y is by itself right here. So this standard, this form is called the slope-intercept form. Standard form is down here. Why am I saying standard form? Well, because the x and the y are on the same side. So you guys will need to find the slope and the y-intercept for this line, and we are going to find the slope and the y-intercept for this line. So let's go ahead and graph the first line. I'm going to use different colors here to show you guys the 2 different lines. So I'm going to use red for the top. And like I said, guys, since y is by itself, we can find the m right away, and we can find the y-intercept, b, which is the y-intercept. So the m is the number next to the x. That's your slope, the number with the x. So there's a 2. Whatever number you guys have here with the x, that's your slope. But you always want a fraction for the slope, because we need to use rise over run to actually find a second point after we graph the y-intercept. So this 2, I'm just going to make it a fraction. 2 over 1. That's it. Rise over run. Rise is the top. Run is the bottom. Your y-intercept is the number with no x. after the x, minus 5 in this case, so we have a negative 5. So to graph it, you always start with the y-intercept, b, this one here. So negative 5 on the y-axis, right here, you make a point, and then using your slope, rise over run, 2 over 1, 2 up, 1 to the right. So my rise is positive, up 2, from here, 1, 2, and 1 to the right, and I make a point right here. Now let's check the inequality. The inequality is greater than. So when you guys have a greater or a less than, that's going to be a dash line dash. So another way you guys can look at it, if you don't have a line on the bottom or equal to, if you don't have it, that's dash. If you guys do have it, that's going to be solid. But right now it's dash. So I'm going to make my line. Notice I'm just making a dash line here. And now I need to check what side to shade. So to check, a good point you guys can check is the origin, 0, 0. If you substitute the x and the y, 0, 0, and you get a true statement, you are going to shade where the origin is at. And if you get a false statement, you are going to shade the other side of the line where the origin is not. You shade away from the origin. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to substitute and check. I'm going to have my inequality, y is greater than 2x minus 5. I'm going to substitute the x and the y, 0, 0. So I have 2 times 0 minus 5. I bring down the 0 for the y is greater than, and I do this math right here, and that's negative 5. What is this? 0 greater than negative 5? That is true. Since it's true, once again, let me go back to the origin right here. You are going to shade the top of the line. Here's the origin. The line is right here. So I'm going to shade all of that side. And you do all that right there. And then you are going to graph the second inequality. So this is all my shading here and here. And I'm going to use a different color because we do need to compare. We need to differentiate the two parts where they are shaded. So I'm going to use blue for the second one. The second line, which is blue, it is standard form. So one way you guys can find the slope and the y-intercept is to get the y by itself. So you take minus 3x, subtract 3, minus 3 to the other side, and then you divide everything by 4. Or you guys can use a little formula, a little you can say shortcut to find the slope, and I'll give you guys that shortcut right now. When it is standard form, the x and the y is on the same side. To find the slope, you can take the opposite of a and you divide it by b. So which one is a, which one is b, and we also have c. So let's label those variables. A is the number with the x, b is the number with the y, and c is the constant on the other side, the number with no variable. So when you guys take the opposite of a, so we have a positive a, 3, opposite is negative. We have, for my slope, negative 3 over b. Do not change the sign of b. If it's negative, it stays negative. If it's positive, it stays positive. So my slope is negative 3 over 4, negative 3 over 4. So, and if you can reduce the fraction, you have to reduce. But right now, I'm going to look for my y-intercept. My y-intercept is going to be c divided by capital B. Don't get confused with the little b and the capital B. These two variables are from the standard form. This one is just the y-intercept. So we keep the little b, and I'm going to substitute 12 for c and 4 for b. 12 is c and 4 is b. You guys can reduce the fraction. 12 divided by 4 is 3. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the y-intercept when we graph. So b on the y-axis is positive 3 right here. Now my slope is negative 3 over 4. Negative rise means down, and run, positive 4 means to the right. So from the blue y-intercept, I go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. And I make a point right here. Let's go ahead and check the inequality. Less than, no line on the bottom, no or equal to. So less than means dash. So you guys we'll connect the points, and you are going to make a dash line. So let me just make the line here. And the next step is to check the side you need to shade. So I am going to check the origin again. And if it's true, I'll shade where the origin is at. If it's false, I'll shade away from the origin. So now I'm going to substitute 3x plus 4y is less than 12. So 3 times 0 plus 4 times 0 is less than 12. You do the math right here, and that's just 0 is less than 12, and that is true. 0 is less than 12. Yep, it's true. So now you look at the origin. Notice where the blue line is at. The blue line is up here. The origin is down here. So I'm going to shade the bottom of the blue line where the origin is at. So let me just shade that in blue. And I'm going to tell you guys what all this means. Notice we have two different colors, red and blue. Your solution is where the red and the blue collapse, overlap, where you guys see the two colors in the same place. So for example, up here, all of this here, there's red, no blue. Down here, there's blue, no red. Right here, all of this here, all of this area is where the two colors collapse. So you guys are going to shade. I'm going to have a black color right here just to explain this. All of this right here is your solution. Any points that you choose in this area, not including the lines, that's why it's dashed, because the points on the line are not solutions. If it's solid, then the points on the line is a solution. But right here, any point that you choose in this area and you substitute into the system for the x and the y, it will give you guys a true statement. Okay, let's try another one. Notice this one, same idea. You guys need to find the slope and the y-intercept, and then you guys grab and check what side to shade. The top inequality, we do have the y by itself, so I can find the slope, I can find the y-intercept. The bottom is standard form. The x and the y are on the same side, so I'm going to use the little shortcut to find the slope and the y-intercept. But let's go ahead and graph the top inequality. So my slope is the one next to the x, the one with the x. So negative x, negative 1. There's an invisible 1. Let me just put a 1 here. And that's my slope, negative 1. I need to make it a fraction. So I just put a 1 under the negative. My y-intercept is 2, the one with no x. So now I graph it. I go to the 2 on the y-axis. I go down 1, that is my slope, negative 1, and 1 to the right. So my other point is going to be here. And look at the inequality. Inequality has a line on the bottom, so that means solid. So I'm going to make my solid line. And once I have my line, I need to check what side to shade. So once again, I can check the origin. And I'm going to check 0, 0. So I'm going to substitute into the inequality. There's the inequality again. And I have 0 greater than or equal to negative 0 plus 2. We know 0 is not negative or positive, so it's just a 0. So I don't need that negative next to the 0. And we get 0 is greater than, let me just put this up a little bit, or equal to 2. True or false? False. So what that means, guys, let's go ahead and look at the origin. It's right here. So since it's false, I'm going to shade the other side of the line. So notice, here's the origin. The line is up here. So I shade all of this side. And I'm just going to do that right now. Hey, all right, so you guys see that area shaded. Let's go ahead and do the second one. And the second inequality, it is in standard form. So let me just make a blue color here. And I'm going to use a blue line. And when it's a standard, the shortcut you can use to find the slope, you take opposite of A and divide by B. So let me label the A, the B, and the C. So opposite of A, that would be negative 2 over B, which is 4. You guys can reduce the fraction. So we reduce to negative 1/2. My y-intercept, you will take C divided by B. So the y-intercept is 4, that's your C value. Let me just show you guys the 4 here, and B is 4. So 4 over 4. So that reduces to 1. Now you guys graph. So we start with the y-intercept. You go to the y-axis, positive 1 is right here. And the slope is negative 1. You always take the negative to the top number, and the bottom stays positive. So negative 1 means down, and then positive 2 means to the right. Rise over run. So from the y-intercept, 1 down, you guys can see here, 1 step down, 1, 2 to the right. And you guys make your other point right here. Okay, so now you guys connect the points and check what inequality you guys have. And we do have a less than, so no line on the bottom. That means that we have a dash line. So let me just make the line here, and you guys also need to check what side to shade. But let's go ahead and do the line, dash. Some teachers, they say broken line, other teachers dotted line. The name, it can change, but it's just a dash line. When you guys check, you are going to substitute 0, 0 again into the inequality. So let me just write down the inequality again. So here we go, and you guys check. And you guys see that we get 0 is less than 4, which is true. So since this is true, go ahead and look for the origin. The origin is right here. The line, the blue line, is on the top. So the origin is true. You are going to shade where the origin is at. So I'm going to shade all of this right here on the bottom of the blue line. And sometimes it's a little bit hard to know where the two colors collapse. You probably already noticed where they do overlap, where they collapse. But if you guys can't see it, if you look carefully in between the two lines right here, you can see the red and the blue overlapping. So I'm just going to make that black so you guys know where is the solution. This right here is our solution. Every point in that area, the x and the y, will make a true statement. So you can pick any points right here, and you substitute into the system, and it's going to give you guys a true statement for both inequalities, not just one. All right, guys. Now for this one, what I want to show you guys is, especially the inequality on the bottom here, y is less than 5. You have to remember what you do to graph when you don't have an x, or sometimes you don't have a y. But let's go ahead and do the whole system. I'm going to graph the top first. So this inequality, my slope for this one is 2, and I'm going to make it a fraction. And my y-intercept is negative 3. And I know my line is going to be dashed because we don't have the or equal to. So I go to negative 3 right here. I go up to 1 to the right is right here. And then you make your dash because, again, you don't have the or equal to part, the line on the bottom. And then you guys check what side to shade. So to check, you are going to use the origin. And you substitute into the inequality. So let's see what we get here. 0 is less than 2 times 0 minus 3. So 0 is less than negative 3. And that is false. So when it's false, you shade away from the origin. So one more time, the origin is right here, is false. So you are going to shade this side of the graph. The next thing, the next step, you guys will graph the second inequality. So let's go ahead and review. What do you do when you don't have an x? We have a y less than 5. So when you guys don't have an x, just a y by itself, that means your line is horizontal. So my line will cross the y-axis, or horizontal, and it's going to be horizontal when you guys make the line. The line will be dash because you don't have the or equal to. And let me just use a blue color for this one. And I go to the positive 5 right here, and I make a dash line horizontal. So I'm making one here. And you guys need to check what side to shade. So to check, once again, you guys substitute 0 into the x and the y, but we don't have an x. So the only thing is you put a 0 into the y. And you check, is that true or false? True. So since 0 is less than 5, that's true. So that means that you are going to shade the origin. And the origin, when you look at the blue line, the origin is on the bottom. So you guys will shade the bottom right here. And where the two colors collapse, let me just make all that dark. There's the black right here. Every point in this area is your solution. Now, one thing that you guys also have to remember, I'm going to give you guys a note so you know what to do when you have x by itself. So let's say you have x is less than 5, not y. When you have x by itself, no y, your line will be vertical. So that means that you guys will go to your 5 on the x-axis, not the y. X-axis is the one going sideways. And hopefully you guys can see this, but the 5, positive 5 is right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is right here. So you make vertical line going up and down. And it's going to be, this one is going to be dashed. And then you guys check. You substitute 0 into the x. 0 is less than 5. That's true. 0 is less than 5. So if you have a vertical line this way, and the origin is right here, then you shade the left side. All right, guys. I have one more, and then that's going to be for our video. Now, this one is going the opposite way. You guys need to find the inequalities that represent the system. So they give you guys the graph, but you guys have inequalities. I'm going to make, it's kind of hard to see, but I'm going to make this line, you guys see the blue line I'm making, it's going to be dashed, right? So we have a dashed line, and I'm going to make this line a solid line. So I'm just going to put a solid. So we have one solid and one dash. I am going to find the inequality for the blue. Oh, no, let's change the color. Red. This is going to be red for the red line right here. So how to do that? Well, remember that we do have one form that is called the slope-intercept form. So we have y equals mx plus b. But guess what? We are not going to have an equal sign on this one. So I'm going to erase the equal sign, and I'm going to put a box. Why am I putting a box? Because we are going to have one of the inequalities, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. But the way you set up your inequality is the same thing as the slope-intercept form. We need to find the slope, and we need to find the y-intercept. So looking at the red, the actual red line, the y-intercept is right here. It crosses 2 on the y-axis. So I'm going to start writing the inequality. I have the y. I'm going to put a box because I don't know what inequality I'm going to use yet. I'm going to use the x plus 2. That is your y-intercept. Positive 2 plus 2. Now you guys need to find the slope. Now, to find the slope from a graph, you need 2 points. So I already have one. I have the y-intercept. I'm going to look on the line, and I'm going to find another point that crosses one of those dots. You see those dots? If you have boxes, it has to cross one of those corners. So I'm going to choose this one. This line crosses this point right here. And I'm going to find my rise and my run. So to find your rise from one point to the other one, you guys go up and you guys go to the left. All right? So up means up, to the left means negative. So, or you can go from here, we have to the right and down. But the signs have to be one negative and one positive. So let's go ahead and look. I'm going to choose from this point to this point. So I go to the right, and that's going to be positive 1 step. And then I need to go down 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be negative 3 for my rise. So 1 positive and my rise is negative. So I'm going to go back here, and in the end, I'm going to use rise over run. So I have rise is negative 3. That's when you go down, and the run is 1. Well, you guys can simplify. We have negative 3x plus 2. Now, to check your inequality, notice the y-intercept. The shading part is on top of the y-intercept. So that means when it's on the top, you are going to use greater. And since the line is solid, remember we said it was solid, I need or equal to. So my inequality is y is greater than or equal to negative 3x plus 2. That's the first line. The second line, this one here, I'm just going to highlight, it's blue. Well, let's go ahead and find the y-intercept. The y-intercept is -1 right here. So I'm going to start y, here's the box, here's the x, -1. Now I need to find the slope. And I'm going to look for another point that it crosses one of those dots. And I notice that, no, this one here, this one crosses exactly at one of those dots. And I need to find the rise and the run. So notice here, you guys go, let's see, 1, 2 to the right, 1, 2, 1, 2 to the right. So that's going to be +2. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 up right here. So we have 4/2. So now you guys set up your slope, and you have the fraction, rise over run. Rise is 4, the run is 2. So you guys simplify. There's the box, 4 divided by 2 is 2, x minus 1. And notice that there's the y-intercept, and it's shaded. Look where the shaded part is at, shaded on the bottom. So we are going to have less. When it's shaded on the bottom, you put less. And this is dash, so you don't need that or equal to. So y is less than 2x minus 1. Now the system, this is how we write down the system. We put the two inequalities on top of each other. So y is greater than or equal to -3x plus 2. And y is less than 2x minus 1. All right, guys. So that is my system that represents the graph. So this concludes my video. Make sure you guys practice your math, and I'll see you guys later.